As the little boy walked down the street, he suddenly came across a big dog. Startled by the animal's sudden presence, his immediate reaction was to scream, "Go away, you stupid dog." No one could have predicted how the dog would respond. Noah didn't always fear dogs. He actually developed a fondness for them after his first encounter at age 3. Eventually, his parents gifted him his own dog. However, the puppy wasn't what the family expected, leading to an event that changed Noah's perception of dogs. The dog, a big Newfoundland named Zoe, originally belonged to Noah's grandma. When she could no longer care for Zoe, she informed Noah's parents. Thrilled, they welcomed the beautiful dog into their home, though they were uncertain about how well Zoe would adapt. To their delight, Zoe settled in seamlessly, quickly becoming Noah's closest companion. They would spend countless hours playing together, affirming to his parents that Zoe was the perfect match for Noah. As time passed, they grew closer and closer and did everything together. It got to a point where Noah asked if Zoe could go to kindergarten with him. How adorable is that? However, when Noah turned 4, something unexpected happened. The boy talked his parents into going to the forest so they could hike with Zoe. They did, and it was a good hike. But after an hour or so, there was a loud noise that scared Zoe, and she took off running. Before they knew it, Zoe had disappeared into the forest. They tried finding her, but she was gone. Noah was heartbroken, and when they got back home, he would sit outside for hours calling for Zoe. A few weeks turned into a month, and Noah lost hope that his dog would find her way back home. His parents tried to comfort him, but nothing made the boy feel better about losing his best friend. He blamed himself because he was the one holding the leash, and he wasn't strong enough to hold Zoe back when she was scared. If his father had been holding it, maybe Zoe would still be with them. Noah's hope was getting thinner and thinner, but one day, everything changed. He was walking home from school when he heard barking in the distance, and it stopped him in his tracks. He listened carefully, thinking maybe he had imagined it, but then he heard it again. Noah started following the sound, and it led him to an alleyway. Without hesitation, he went into the alley, and he was shocked. You probably guessed it. Zoe was in the alley. Noah ran to her and hugged her. Then she started licking his face. The boy took a close look at her, and there was something different, but he couldn't put his finger on it. He brushed it off and told Zoe it was time to go back home. Noah's parents couldn't believe it when he walked through the door, but then his father said something unexpected. Wait, I don't think that's Zoe, is it? And then it dawned on all of them. There was something different about the dog, but what was it? The animal was a bit thinner, but that would be normal after living on the streets for 3 months. Eventually, they decided it was just in their heads and welcomed Zoe back home. However, something was certainly different. Things seemed to go back to normal, but Zoe had some strange behavior. For example, the dog was often distracted and staring at the window. Moreover, the dog could open the back door and sneak away from the house. Sometimes, the first time they noticed that Noah was worried Zoe would get lost again. His parents thought maybe she was hiding in bushes. The backyard was spacious after all, so maybe she was just out of sight. Little did they know that she went to the forest when she escaped. Everything continued like that for a year until tragedy struck. The family had already been heartbroken when they lost Zoe, who was old when they got her, and unfortunately, she passed away at 10 years old. The loss was especially difficult for Noah to process. This time, his best friend was gone, and she wasn't coming back. At first, he grieved the loss of Zoe by sitting in the backyard, thinking about her. Eventually, Noah started to play more, and he seemed better. Then something happened. The boy was playing alone in the front yard when he accidentally kicked the ball too hard. It bounced from a nearby fence and started rolling down the street, which was a bit hilly. Frustrated, Noah went to fetch it. But when he went to grab the ball, he heard a low growl. A chill went down Noah's spine, and then the growl changed into a moaning noise, as if the animal was not doing well. When Noah stood up straight, there was a giant dog who looked very similar to Zoe standing right in front of him. Noah froze, but he knew he had to do something to avoid an attack. So he puffed up his chest and yelled at the dog, "Go away, you stupid dog," hoping that would make the animal run away. To Noah's shock, the dog didn't move at all, so he started to slowly back away, and he was about to run back to the house. But before he took off, the dog rolled onto its back, as if asking Noah to pet it. It was like the dog knew the boy. Noah relaxed and went to pet the dog when he noticed something that made his heart skip a beat. The dog had the same eyes as Zoe, and they really looked like the same dog. As a test, Noah reached out his hand to pet the dog's head, and the dog leaned into it, like Zoe always did. He was now convinced this dog was Zoe, and she had finally come back to him. He started crying. He was so happy. When Tom took the dog home, his parents were shocked about the resemblance this dog had to Zoe. They asked the boy where the dog had come from, and Noah told them. He also asked if the dog could stay, and they agreed, but his parents knew this wasn't Zoe. While they were worried about hurting Noah's feelings, they did the right thing and printed a few flyers to hang around the neighborhood in case someone was looking for their dog. A week later, no one had contacted Noah's parents about the flyer. Meanwhile, the dog and Noah had bonded, unaware of where it would lead. Later, Noah's parents decided to take the dog to the vet to make sure it was in good health. After the vet examined the dog, he said, "On the surface, this dog is almost identical to Zoe, but we still have to wait for the test results." Noah shared with his parents that he knew the dog wasn't Zoe, but he was happy with his pet. Later that day, he convinced his parents to take the dog out for a walk in the forest. They hadn't been back there since Zoe ran away, but this time they would be more careful. As they entered the forest, the dog started pulling on the leash like she wanted to show them something. After an hour of walking, the dog led them to a tree with a hollowed-out spot on the bottom. The family noticed there was a bed of leaves and twigs, as if an animal had lived there. Could this be Zoe? Could this be the spot where she lived all this time? Noah's parents were speechless, and they were saved by the bell when the dad's phone started ringing. It was the vet, and when Noah's dad picked up, the doctor revealed something shocking. "This is hard to believe, but this dog's DNA matches Zoe's DNA," he said. "But how could this be?" It turns out that the dog was Zoe's daughter. She must have been pregnant when she ran away, and when Noah found her in the alleyway, the pup had grown up on her own. Mystery solved. As expected, Noah and the dog became even more inseparable. He named her Zoe Jr. in honor of Zoe, and as time passed, they grew up together. They often embarked on adventures in the forest behind Noah's house and played together. It seemed as though Zoe had passed down some of her love for Noah and the family to her daughter, which is why she recognized the boy that day on the street. The bond between Noah and Zoe Jr. became unbreakable. Despite looking exactly like her mother, Zoe Jr. had a very unique personality. This story serves as a reminder of how loving and loyal dogs can be, especially when they're treated with love and respect. It also reminds us that even when things seem impossible, there's always a chance for good things to happen, and we must keep hope alive. If you like this video, then please help us to reach 5K likes. Also subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss the update from our channel. Thank you.